Now, the first piece of data that I was able to gather from some of the best business bankers across the country and some of the biggest financial institutions is that whether it's a credit union or a bank, each of them is going to have their own banking exposure limits. Now, this is the total amount of credit that the bank is willing to lend out to you, not including mortgages or vehicles. So I'll give you a real world scenario. Let's say that you go to Bank A, and Bank A down the street, their total lending exposure is $60,000. You have one card at $35,000. You have another card at $15,000. You're now at 50. The odds of that next card being at 10K or less is highly likely because you're hitting that total lending exposure that they're going to max out to you. But there's also something known as the total business credit exposure, and banks have two ways of doing this. The first way is a total exposure of $250,000 for each business account that you may have with them. And the second way is $250,000 for each person or each owner. Now, the good thing about this, though, is that if you have more than one owner, each owner is able to max out each of their limits, and that's how each credit partner is able to bring their contribution back into the business. The next secret to how banks underwrite is they're able to do tracking. Now, we were working with a small business owner who experienced this in real time. They were transitioning from a sole proprietorship over to an LLC. Now, they didn't want to lose all of the history that they had already built up with their bank when they were going to transition into, again, that LLC. Because as you know, that's a brand spanking new business. You're getting a new EIN and you're now seen as a disregarded entity. So you're essentially starting from scratch. But the business banker, because they knew what the heck they were talking about, that they connected with, they were able to paper trail that, which is why that tracking is so important. And since it was going to be the same line of work, it was going to be in the same city, and it was going to be through the same merchant accounts, they were able to use the previous history that that business owner had already built over all those years on the sole prop side, and they were able to use that on the underwriting side to get them some good approvals for that brand new LLC. Now, caveat, as long as it's the same line of work, bank statements, merchant accounts for your payments collected, and or you show proof of your existing client base, this is all going to help and serve you far better. The next thing banks are looking at is they want to see how well someone knows their business model and where that capital is going to be allocated to. Because the reality is that not knowing the following is going to hurt a business owner from getting access to these credit lines. Not knowing your numbers, so this is revenue, cost of material, equipment, spending on marketing, how you acquire your customers, not having a plan in place, not being able to articulate how your business actually makes money, and not knowing where your working capital will be injected into. When the business owner starts to stutter or they don't know how to answer these questions on the fly, banks make an internal note placing this business owner as a potential risk, meaning they're going to mitigate themselves from either lending out to this business or they're going to flat out deny it altogether, which is what you want to avoid at all costs. The next thing about these algorithms is that they're information sensitive. They're all being fed the same information from multiple sources. You have EWS, you have ChexSystem, you have CoreLogic, and all of these systems, what they do is they feed into the algorithm with a collection of a couple of different things. Number one is they're getting of all the different variable names of the business owner to make sure no fraud is being committed. So if you have, let's say your last name is Irv, but then you have a junior attached to it. If you're leaving out the junior, then odds are you may be seen as someone that's not you trying to apply for the account on your behalf. But taking that a step further, even for something as small as ABC LLC, if it's ABC Limited Liability Company, physically spelled out, but on the application or when you go to open a business checking account, you put LLC, you could get denied altogether because, again, it could be seen as someone trying to apply, commit fraud on your behalf using your information. So even if it's something as minor as double checking the information, triple checking the information, I always tell our business owner clients, bring in your articles of organization, bring in your operating agreements to the bank. So that way there's no errors or anything that you can prevent. And again, right before the application is submitted or right before they go to press enter in the system, if you're maybe opening an account, have them turn the screen around, double check it, triple check it. That way you're not having to clean this mess up later on.